What's up guys, it's Daniela here. Welcome back to my channel. I'm super excited to be back with yet another episode, and today I'm going to be talking about 5 tacking tips that are going to help you progress with your tack so much. I actually originally had these in my how to tack video. If you haven't watched that yet, definitely watch that video before you watch this video, just because that way a lot more will make better sense when I'm going through all of these steps. I had all of these tips in my how to tack video, but then felt like I couldn't really go into depth as much as I would like to. So today I'm gonna really go into depth about these 5 tacking tips. And now all of these tips are, if you went up to me on the beach at any kite spot and you asked me for some tips, this is what I would tell you. So I'm super excited to share these with all of you. And yeah, let's get right to it. Number 1 is timing of the kite. So I always talk about how important timing is to any maneuver. It's really easy to have your kite already in the new direction too early, or to not have it there soon enough. So just paying attention to where your kite is going to be a huge help. Again, just so that we kind of go over the steps, you're bringing your kite up slowly, and then at this point it's going to be pretty much at noon. From there you sheet in, change your feet, and at that point you still want it to be kind of moving in your new direction. What a lot of people do is that they kind of forget to keep sending it in the new direction, and then they just kind of fall because they have no momentum going in the direction they want to go. So it's super important to keep the kite moving. However, if you send it in your new direction too early, then you're already going to be being pulled in one way when you still have to rotate the other way. So that just makes things a lot more difficult. In a good tack, you're sheeting in, rotating your upper body and flattening out the board as you do so, and then keep sending the kite in your new direction. The next thing I'm going to talk about is having your body centered. What I mean by having your body centered is that you're centered over the top of the board, and also your shoulders, core, hips, and knees should kind of be in a line on top of each other. You'll remember that in my how to tack video, I talked about the chair position while you're switching your feet. But what you want to imagine during that is you being able to draw a line from the top of your head going through your hips. What I sometimes see people doing is that they may have the chair, but their upper body is too far backwards. And usually what this means is, going back to number 1 actually, it probably means you haven't sent the kite in your new direction enough, because if you're falling backwards, then it means that you don't have enough kind of power to keep you upright. So you should probably try sending the kite a little bit earlier. Something else you can do, which I'll get into more in the next tip, is you might have not sheeted in at the right time. So what is possible is you sheet it in, and you're trying to change your feet, but maybe you sheet it in too early, so you don't have enough power left in that kite to keep you weightless, so now you're falling backwards. In a good tack, as you're rotating the board and changing your feet, all of your body parts should be on top of the board. Next, tip number 3 is keep trimming the kite as you're going through the maneuver. This is less kind of important when it's lighter wind, but when it's gusty and there's a lot of wind, this is going to be so helpful. If it's really gusty, you might get some gusts kind of while you're switching your feet that are going to affect how well you can do that. If you're able to just really quickly feel what the kite is doing, and if you have a gust coming, just sheet out just a tiny bit, or if you have a little bit of a lull, sheet in a little bit. It's going to help you stay stable while you're switching your feet, and will be able to help you complete the tack. Something else that kind of goes along with this is sheeting in at the right time. If you sheet in too early, you're most likely going to fall while you're changing your feet. If you sheet in too late, you're probably not even going to be able to get your rotation around. So if you're doing any of these things, just think about sheeting in at the right time, which should be as you're carving the board up and you flatten it out. That's when you sheet in and change your feet. Tip number 4 is flattening the board out. This is so important. I can't stress this enough for foiling tacks. And a lot of people may look at a tack and they're like, oh, it's like a back roll. You just kind of, whip yourself around and you can carve around the entire way. But actually, you have to flatten the board out when you're switching the feet so that you have a flat surface to switch your feet on. It's really hard to be switching your feet on a tilted surface. You don't want to be doing that. So what I recommend is when you're rotating around, just give your front foot a little bit of a push downwards and try to imagine that you're flattening it out. And this should help flatten the nose of the board, which will kind of help the back of the board follow. If you feel like you're over rotating or you'll be almost ending up on toe side in your new direction before you're actually able to switch your feet, you're probably not flattening the board out. So try to think about that. Again, in a good tack, you bring the kite up, start carving the board around, then flatten it out. And then you continue changing your feet. Finally, number 5 is using 1 versus 2 hands when you're tacking. This is just kind of what my personal input and opinion is, but what I kind of think is that when you're learning to tack, you should almost always use 2 hands on the bar, just because you have so much more control and it just helps you react to any gusts or anything that's happening a lot easier. So that's why I always recommend it. So the only exception to this rule is if you're really, really powered on a big kite. And what happens, especially if you're a bit of a smaller rider like myself compared to a lot of the guys, is if you're trying to do some fast tacks, you might be trying just to send the kite up really quickly, but in doing that, you just get launched, which has happened to me before. It's totally fine. So what I do in order to minimize the amount that I actually get pulled either upwards or to the side is I will take 1 hand off the bar just so that I get as much weight low as possible, so that by the time I'm actually sheeting in, most of my weight is low, and it just helps with kind of controlling a really, really powered kite. Again, this is kind of an advanced maneuver, so I wouldn't really recommend it to anyone that's just learning to tack, but if you are pretty comfortable with your tacks already and are looking for ways to get faster but are kind of struggling with bigger kites, that's something that I would recommend. Okay guys, that's all I got for today. I hope it was really helpful for you again. And let me know in the comments below if you guys tried any of these techniques, what helped you, what didn't, or if you have some of your own that you would recommend to other riders. Also, let me know what else you guys want to see and what else would be helpful for you. I'm super excited to bring you more helpful content. Don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss any of that content. And if you liked this video and it was helpful for you, definitely give it a thumbs up. Alright, thank you guys so much for tuning in today, and I'll catch you in the next video.